Good evening. My name is Noah Herndon, and this is the Groundview. This evening, I had the opportunity to interview the presidential candidacy of Bruce Bigler and his vice presidential candidate, Emma Freeland. We were able to discuss their message of On Your Mark, and for the first time, I had the opportunity to discuss their executive order. I hope you enjoy the segment on the Groundview. Good afternoon, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me on the Ground View. It's an absolute pleasure to have y'all on today.
So excited to be here.
Perfect. All right, y'all. Well, I'd love for y'all to introduce yourselves both to me, the viewing audience, and the Team Pact student body. Emma, I'll go ahead and have you start, and then we'll go to Bruce.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Emma Freeland. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I am just super excited to be running for vice president this year with Bruce.
Hey guys, I'm Bruce Bigler. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it has not stopped raining for about the past week. But anyways, I am so excited to be running for president with Emma this year, and so excited to meet all you guys here in about a week now.
Awesome. And if y'all wouldn't mind just kind of describing or giving a little bit of info about how you came to be in Team Pact, how much time you spent with the organization. Bruce, we can start with you.
For sure. All right. So my Team Pact journey starts way back with my brothers. They joined Team Pact about 2018. I have two older brothers, Ted and Dean Bigler, and they really love Team Pact. They did Venture, NatCon a few years, but they never absolutely got all the way in. They never applied to staff or anything like that. So I really wasn't that excited about Team Pact when my mom put me in 2021 when I was 16. But I absolutely loved it. I knew nothing about it coming into the week. I just thought, I have some friends going. I mean, it's going to be a politics camp. How much fun can it be? But I didn't really not want to go. Didn't especially want to go. Had an incredible time. I made so many friends. Just absolutely loved it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go to NatCon. And that very same year, I had won governor at state class. So I was like, you know what? We're going to try run for senator at NatCon. I did not understand how large NatCon worked or how large it was or how it worked, anything along those lines. So I got to NatCon, was completely blown away by the size, the magnitude, and just the caliber of people there. And that's when I really fell in love with Team Pact. In my small group there, I realized what intentional people these were. And so from that year on, I applied to staff in 2022. I staffed one state class that year. And then the next year I reapplied to staff, and here I am today. So absolutely love Team Pact. Just so thrilled to have the opportunity that so many people don't get to have, to be in just such an intentional community where everyone's focus is truly on the Lord. So I'm so thankful.
And then Emma?
Yeah. So Team Pact began for me kind of like Bruce with my family, but it first started for me at the one day when I was 10 years old, and I attended that 3 times before starting at the 4-day. And I was the kid who was very excited for it from the beginning. I was not really nervous, not really anxious about it, just so excited to go straight into it. And I really did fall in love. I fell in love with the ministry as a whole and the community it brought me and things like that. But I really, really loved the program. And that was something I was just so blessed by, being able to be involved in that from such a young age, just learning about the political process and learning about our government and everything that we as teenagers can do to be involved in that. And so I fell in love with the program. And then on top of that, the cherry was just the friendships that came with it and the aspect that allowed me to grow in my relationship with Christ. So similar to Bruce, I just went through the program. I went through the 4-day a couple of times, and then I've staffed as well. So that's what's brought me here.
Awesome. It's really incredible to hear how y'all had these different journeys in, but you've had these opportunities to grow through your experiences in Team Pact, and that's always excellent to hear. Now, everyone, they have different experiences with Team Pact, but we all kind of have that standout moment, or the one thing that kind of comes to the front of our minds is that that iconic Team Pact moment. And I just ask if y'all would be willing to share, what's that one Team Pact moment that kind of stands out for you that you'll always remember? We can start with Bruce and then go to Emma.
For sure. So obviously, I think we all love the Team Pact program side of it. We love leading different program elements, masters of elections, whatever it is, and participating in those as well as students or as staffers. But I think where the important part of Team Pact for me it's the ministry side of it, where I get to actually have an impact on people and allow them to have that impact on me and in my faith. And so one really neat moment that I had this year that's probably stuck out to me the most is there was a student on one of the classes that I was helping out with, and he had been struggling with a lot of the same things that I had been struggling with just a year earlier, with doubt in my faith and not feeling like maybe I was good enough or whatever it was. And so we just had a really neat conversation, and the Lord used my experiences to bolster him and his faith, and vice versa. So it was just such a sweet time to build each other up. And it's those little moments like that that we get to share our faith with others that keeps me coming back to Team Pact and keeps me realizing what it's all about. So that was a really cool experience, and just so many like it have all grew my love for Team Pact.
And then Emma?
Yeah. So I would say the moment that stands out to me the most is I had the opportunity to attend Endeavor this past fall, and Team Pact as a whole, like with their events, they just foster an environment that obviously values the presence of the Holy Spirit so much. And that's something that has had a major impact on my heart over my time in Team Pact. And specifically at Endeavor this past year, on the last night, we had the opportunity, about 40 or 50 girls just in the living room of this house, to pray for each other. And it was one of the most touching things I'd have ever experienced. It unified us so much together. But to me, I was able just to experience the power of prayer among peers like I never had before. And that's what's crazy to me about Team Pact, is it gives you these opportunities left and right that otherwise, like through other organizations or through things at home, that like you simply don't have. And so when I think of moments like that, you know, there's obviously so many that stand out, but thinking back to Endeavor and just those like 1 or 2 hours in prayer with each other really, really speaks to me, and really, really stands out as one of those moments.
That's absolutely incredible. Both of y'all have this ministry aspect that's kind of been able to stand out for you, this community that you've been able to establish. And that's just been incredible to hear, especially, you know, going through Team Pact myself and having those personal experiences. Those are always moments that I think God really shines through. Now, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit to, you know, the actual election itself. I just want to ask, you know, what inspired y'all to run? How did y'all come to decide to run? How did y'all come to decide to run with each other? Whichever one y'all like to start, if you'd like to discuss that.
Yeah, I can start. So we both have been involved in the elections process. We both love it to death. And that's kind of how we met, actually, at National Convention last year. And then we both were kind of thinking about whether we wanted to run again or not this year. And we kind of just like had a conversation about it at staff training this past year. I wouldn't necessarily even say like one person asked the other to run or anything like that. We kind of just sat down and we were like, hey, like, what would this look like if we did run? What are some of the visions, some of the goals? Just seeing like if we were in alignment on anything like that. And then we took a week or so after staff training to just think and pray about it. And then we called and we were like, hey, yeah, I think we'll do it. So it was kind of just a conversation and an idea that led to it. But we agreed on almost everything. We were just super excited to jump into it and to run together.
Yeah. And as for the actual motivation behind running, I think a lot of times Team Pact elections, nobody really knows why they're running. They just kind of want to run to run. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's how I felt a little bit running for senator. It's like, I really enjoyed it. Got to meet so many cool people. But afterwards, it was kind of like, what's next? What do I do? You know, what did I do all that work for? And so then I realized that there was a lot more to it than just what a lot of people would maybe say is like a popularity contest or something. But I realized that you actually do have sway. You're able to have impact with Corbin and Abby doing the really neat YouTube channel and the Instagram page where we're able to share devotionals, share testimonials, things like that. And president seemed like the next way to step up into leadership, to see ways that we thought Team Pact could improve or expand and really capitalize on those in a different way. So not only did it challenge us and push us out of our comfort zones to meet new people, but it also allowed us an opportunity to better Team Pact as a whole. So that's how we ended up where we are. I've loved every minute of it for the most part. Well, not for the most part, the entire time. Emma and I have been very much in agreement on everything. And we have an incredible team that has helped us out so much. So everything's worked out so well, and it's been just an incredible, enjoyable experience.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of want to go into what you talked about in terms of being able to step up as leaders, and especially in the ministry aspect, and talk about y'all's message, which I'm very excited to see, especially y'all share in person of On Your Mark. Could y'all kind of talk about that, whichever of y'all would like to start?
Yeah, I'll go for it. So On your mark is an idea that comes from Hebrews 12, 1 through 2, where it just talks about the Christian life is a race. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever run a race before, but if you're in the middle of a race, in the middle of a 5K, when I was younger, I always used to do 5Ks with my grandma. My grandma's 70. She's been a runner her entire life. And so the thing that I always motivated myself with is I can't let my grandma beat me. And so I would always just push ahead, push ahead, push ahead. And at no point would have I ever stopped or walked, because I had this goal in my head that was, I cannot lose to my grandma. Now, I'm sad to say 7, 8, 9, 10, even 11-year-old Bruce did indeed lose to my grandma. But because I had that goal in my mind, I was able to just run and sprint towards the finish line and do my absolute best. And I know that's kind of a silly analogy, but in the Christian life, we do have a very defined goal that we are running towards. It's the goal of eternity with Christ in heaven. And in the middle of a race, you don't stop, you don't walk, and you don't forget your goal and go down a different path, but you have to stay very, very focused. And so that's the idea that Emma and I wanted to portray. And as we were looking for a message, we came across a lot of different things that were kind of out of our own head. We thought an idea of focus might be nice, an idea about removing distractions, whatever it is. We had a bunch of different ideas, but once we started digging into the scripture and let our ideas come from scripture instead of trying to fit scripture into our ideas, it flowed a lot better. And we just came to a message that we felt like we needed to hear, that the Team Pact Nation needed to hear, and that honestly every Christian can grow from and can learn from, and that it'll have an impact in their lives and in their race that they're running with Christ.
Yeah. And to add on to that, just the slogan of "on your mark" is just like we say, it's like an indication that the race is beginning. And so that's kind of like our challenge to the Team Pact Nation and to people on the live stream attending National Convention. Like this race is beginning. Whether you feel like you've fallen behind or maybe you never even started or that type of thing, like on your mark, like get ready, like it's starting for you too. And so that's like where the slogan as a whole come from. It's just that the race is beginning now. And that's kind of like our prompt and our challenge to the Team Pact Nation.
Awesome. No, and it's an incredible message that I really love that y'all are sharing. And again, that Bruce, that example was absolutely fantastic. Just of that desire to continue getting faster, that desire to have a goal that keeps you moving forward is absolutely fantastic. And I think especially relating to the ministry, you've done an excellent job of kind of that putting that into a message that's easily understandable and that will definitely be impactful for a lot of different students going into NatCon. And talking about impact, I don't know, and I'd like to ask, have y'all are there any moments where you've seen your message kind of play out in your lives, or that stick out to you? I know, Bruce, you kind of talked about in a looser example, but just a way that you've seen this really play out, even perhaps on the campaign trail.
Yeah. All right. So one that I have really seen is I was on a 2-week stretch, and I had a 2-week stretch right before that. So I was going on a very long time. It was my last class, and I was kind of petering out at the beginning of the week. I thought, okay, this is just my last week. I'm just going to power through. Then I can sleep, right? And so I kind of had the very wrong mindset going into that week. And through a lot of prayer and through a few people saying things to me, thankfully, before the week started on Sunday night, just checking in with me, seeing how everything was going, seeing where my mindset was, I was able to kind of notice that I wasn't running full speed, that I was kind of walking towards the finish line, and I wasn't trying to have the greatest impact that I could have had. And so, like I said, through those people pushing me and challenging me, I was able to realize that at the beginning of the week and just notice that this is an opportunity where I have to sprint towards the finish line, to not let any moment slip away, not to take anything for granted, but to push myself far outside of my comfort zone, to talk to new students, to share the gospel throughout my actions, to, really make sure that I'm showing self-control in everything, not letting my tiredness get the best of me, but realizing that every moment in our lives is a race, and we get to choose how we want to run it. Do we want to sprint, or do we want to sit back and take the easy route? And so our idea of running well has really pushed me on in everything that I've done, just reminding me that getting the week over with is not the goal. Getting this next task over with, winning the election, isn't the ultimate goal, but it's running well in every single thing that we do.
Yeah. And to add on to that, for me, I think the part of the verse I think about this part of my life and like the past 2 semesters, is we're running the race that is set before us, and we're running the steps that Christ has already prepared for us. And often that does not look like what we would expect it to. And I have just seen that in my life over the past few months and over the past 2 semesters or so. And in our message video, we actually mentioned the verse that says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. That's our goal, that we will look back and say that. But more so than a race, like sometimes it's a battle. And that is such an important aspect of it to realize, and something I have noticed in my life, just how often sometimes you have to fight to keep running. Most of the time you do have to fight to keep running. But this scripture encourages us that when we run with endurance, he gives us this endurance. He has that race set before us, and we can trust his sovereignty in that, and that he will carry us through to the finish line. And he's running beside us, even when that endurance seems to be failing, or when that strength seems to be failing. It just takes us fighting forward and pushing forward, and like Bruce was saying, sprinting forward, ultimately, so we can look back and say that we have finished the race and we have fought the good fight, and ultimately we have kept the faith. And so I've just seen that play out over the past few months in the last 2 semesters, and that's the special place in my heart this message holds.
No, and that's incredible to hear the impact, the personal relations y'all have had with this message, seeing it play out, especially with you, Bruce, going through that tired stretch. It's something I experienced even my own state class when I was serving on the staff team, just experiencing that absolute point of just, feeling like I had nothing more to give, and like having that great mindset. And then again, y'all just having this connection to your message is something that I think will definitely show at NatCon, just with y'all being genuine in this message, which is incredible to see. Now, I do kind of want to shift gears as we head into the latter half of this interview. I want to talk specifically about, more the political side of the election, specifically with party choice. Y'all have announced that you're running in the Perseverance Party, and it's sort of like, I want to ask, what were the influences that kind of influenced that? I believe, and like you ran in Vision last year, while Bruce, you ran in Perseverance, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So how did y'all end up deciding to run in Perseverance this year, if you don't mind me asking?
Emma, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were honestly just talking about which party we wanted to run with, and we were like, we could run Compassion, we could run in Vision like I did, we could run in Perseverance like Bruce did last year, and ultimately it just came down to Perseverance because we kind of just asked around a little bit, because I was like, I don't mind switching parties, it's fine. And Bruce was like, I love Perseverance. And then we were like, we asked a couple people, and they were like, yeah, I'd love to go to Perseverance, or I've been in Perseverance last year, and that kind of thing. So ultimately, the consensus was just leaning towards Perseverance. And then once we looked more into what the party stood for and things like that, and we realized it would be really cool to form our press release on and form our stance on, and just take that with the issue. So I wouldn't say there were necessarily major factors that led us towards deciding Perseverance, but kind of just a general opinion, just us leaning towards it, and then realizing that it would be really rewarding for us to pick.
And to tag on to that, at the very beginning of the season, I was talking with Abby George, as you all know, the Team Pact vice president currently. And the biggest encouragement she had for us when we were trying to consider parties was run with the party that fits you best. Don't run in the party that you think is going to be the easiest, that will get you out of primaries, that will get you the most support. Don't look at those things. Look at the party that you actually stand with, because it's very hard to write a press release. It's very hard to give all your beliefs with an idea that you don't believe in. And so that's kind of what we were focusing on, and Perseverance just completely met that goal. It's just the conservative, strong, sturdy party. It's not necessarily saying that our nation needs a whole lot of change, but it believes that we were built on good things, and we should continue to persevere in those goals, that we should continually focus ourselves back to that original point instead of trying to stray into new things. So whereas some of the other parties think that looking ahead and making big changes is the most helpful, we realize that sticking with the conservative values is what we truly believed, and it was what's going to serve our country best. And just in terms of Team Pact, it's going to help us run a lot if we focus on an idea that we actually believe in, instead of just taking the easy route.
I want to springboard off of that and talk about, the party issue, especially because we're about to see press releases released very shortly. And so I just want to ask, what was y'all's unique response to the issue of homelessness according to the Perseverance stance? Bruce, we can start with you.
Yeah. So one thing that was very interesting when the press releases came out, when the party platforms came out specifically about homelessness, was I had expected that Perseverance would be housing. I thought that housing was the best solution to the homelessness crisis that had been proposed. And so when it found out that vision was actually that stance, it kind of threw me for a loop, because I had researched it a lot. I had actually written a speech on it, and I was very focused on this housing first idea. The idea in compassion of minimum wage, I had always kind of seen that as maybe not the most long-term solution to increase wages. And I thought that housing would be a great idea. But as soon as the perseverance stance came out, I realized that I was going to have to dig a bit deeper to look into this idea of rehab and therapy. And as I was researching, I came across the idea that housing isn't actually the best solution. And a lot of my old ideas were contradicted, because it does keep people in houses. About 80% of homeless people retain that housing. But in fact, their mental state and their substance abuse and things like that gets far worse when they're in housing complexes, because it's all just confined into one singular area. So instead of making it better on the root problems, it actually makes it worse. And so I realized that we would have to take a different approach instead of housing. And that's the idea of rehabilitation. Now, rehabilitation just means we take people in, we give them temporary housing, but we also take care of things like their different mental illnesses, which about 78% of homeless people struggle with. That means we also take care of their physical needs. If it's something like disabilities, that we take care of that as well. Instead of just putting a Band-Aid over the problem of homelessness, we actually tackle the root cause. And so these results have been much more successful when we vie for rehabilitation instead of putting a Band-Aid over the problem. And in fact, rehabilitation is much cheaper than a long-term housing program. So kind of at the end of the day, everything fell into place. And that's why we and the Perseverance Party as a whole stand for rehabilitation and different things like therapy, disability assistance, and targeting those root problems to actually get people off the streets instead of just putting them in a home where their mental state is just going to get worse.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I would agree with that. And I would just kind of echo what he was saying about not just covering it with a Band-Aid. You know, we're looking at at the homeless population as individuals. And so we want to make sure we're really targeting that root cause of it. Like he was saying, mental illnesses, disabilities, things like that. And we're really seeking them out as individuals and making sure we're looking to more so reach out to that root problem, instead of just putting a Band-Aid over it. So yeah, I would echo everything he said.
Absolutely. And it'll be really interesting to see that play out both on the Perseverance primary stages. You know, McDermott, Goldman, and Power Smith, they propose their own solutions through the Perseverance primary. And to hear y'all kind of discuss this, and then if y'all do make it to generals, I'll be very interested to see how y'all interact, especially with the vision plan. Bruce, as you've researched it quite a bit, it will be very interesting to see. Now, as the interview is winding down, I present this opportunity to every single candidate I interview, and that is kind of for y'all to offer one last thing to this Team Pact student body, whether it's regarding yourself, your message, or your campaign in general, one last thing that you'd like to share to the audience and to the voters in general.
Yeah, so I can start it off.
Perfect.
Great. So I think a lot of times Team Pact elections have so much focus on a message. They have so much focus on maybe just popularity. And so Emma and I think that those things are important. Obviously, it has an impact. The people that most people know obviously are going to win and have the most impact. But I think there's also another side to it that a lot of people forget, that the president and vice president actually have power. They're going to be leading a cabinet and they have influence over the Team Pact nation. And so that's not something that we take lightly, but we want to continue pushing this message of running well, and we want to apply that to our cabinet. Our executive order is going to drop tomorrow, so I don't want to spoil too much. But basically, I will just let you in for now that we have a very solid plan to actually change something about the way the Team Pact nation works. So we would encourage people to, yes, vote for the people who are your friends, vote for the people that you know well, but also look into the changes that will actually be made, the message that they're running with, and the influence that they're going to have, and make sure that you're choosing that well. And I'm confident that
I will clarify. So this interview will not come out until Thursday. So if you are wanting to share if you're wanting to expound on your executive order, you absolutely can. This will not be released until Thursday, until afterwards.
All right, then I'll go ahead and take that opportunity. Noah, you'll be the first to know. So basically what we're creating is something called the Team Pact Partnership Program. So we know that Team Pact does an excellent job in so many things, reaching students, ministering to those students. But one area where we found Team Pact could expand is the idea of partnering with other organizations. So I'm part of NCFCA, things like STOA, Worldview Academy, and I've noticed that those organizations do a phenomenal job of reaching out. Almost anywhere you go, you'll see their name in a pamphlet. You'll see their video at a NCFCA tournament, and they just do such a great job of proclaiming their name and their message to very similar organizations. And so that's something that we think Team Pact can grow in. So in fact, today I was on the phone with the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and they said that they would absolutely love to partner with Team Pact. So we could sponsor them, they would sponsor us to really reach more people. That would be things like us partnering with the Team Pact media team to create videos, to create brochures, to invite speakers to their organizations, to really bring people into Team Pact, to make it more of a nationwide organization, to grow in those smaller states and just keep the mission up. And so we're really excited to partner with similar organizations and help Team Pact reach everyone.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, just to add on to that, I would just say that we are going to be at National Convention in 6 days, and Bruce and I are literally so excited to be there, to not only be running, but we're going to have the opportunity to get to know you all, get to know the Team Pact Nation, and get to form these relationships in this community that we love so much, and that we know y'all love so much too. So yeah, we're just so excited to be there. We're so excited to just be on campus and get to start forming these relationships and get to have conversations and things like that. So we're praying for the week as we go into it. We hope y'all are so excited, and we're just we're so grateful to see how the Lord is going to use our message and how the Lord is going to use our heart and our desire to represent Team Pact.
Awesome. No, and it's incredible to hear, like, you're coming from the one side of how you're going to expand Team Pact, and then the inner side of what you're doing within Team Pact. And I'm really excited to see how that ends up playing out come NatCon, to hear about your executive order, the first executive order I've been able to have on the interview. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. I kind of chuckle because HSLDA is based on my college campus where I go to college at Patrick Henry. And so I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Well, y'all, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. It's been absolutely fantastic to get to know you more and to give you an opportunity to share to the Team Pact Nation.
Thank you
so much, Noah.